More people get their news from 1010 Wins than from any other radio station in the nation. Ed Easton is our service aide. Phil Pilato's at the editor's desk. I'm Holly Hare.
Celebrating 50 years of all news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good morning, 60 degrees.
Hi, my name is Ed Easton Jr. I'm a news producer for 1010 Wins, and I'm a streaming media producer for Major League Baseball's MLB.com. You see people every day. You see like your dad, you see your mom, you see stuff that they go through. And as a kid, you don't really quite understand it until you're older. I think we all can agree with that. And I don't know, like I said, that stuff didn't really occur to me till much older, what the stuff my dad had to go through, or my mom had, asked to go through. And that's the stuff that I appreciate the most, like their sacrifices. Like my mom wrote stories. A lot of them not published, will be soon, but that's where I got my love for writing and stuff. I would see her on, not the computer, but an old typewriter. I'm talking about the old, like you mess up on the typewriter, it's done. Like that's how she wrote all her stories, so she barely made any mistakes. I would watch her do that, The sports and everything I got from my dad, because watching him, he was a former player. So things like that, I guess I'm a combination of those two in that sense. I never discussed doing a career in like sports journalism or anything like that before, but they were just opening up a radio station in my school. And I remember walking by and I saw this girl signing up and I'm like, what is this? And she's like, oh, we're starting a radio station, first year of it, we got all the funding and they had everything set up and all that. So I said, all right, whatever, signed on, just like anything. Go to college, you have a bunch of stuff, sign up for this, sign up for that, Signed up for it, got called by a professor to show up. He said, hey, so what are you interested in doing? I told him I wanted to do what I know. I knew sports. We do a sports show, right? He teamed me up with a guy who was a senior, and we decided to do a sports show together. And it was where I didn't even know the guy. And they're saying, okay, you guys do a show together. That's just what it is. He's a senior. He's got 4 years older than me, and I'm a freshman. We jumped in, his name was Stan, and I said, let's do it. Jumped in, we did the show. The second year, he had to come back for his 5th year. And I said, all right, let's call it something. We just called it the Ed and Stan Sports Show, our first season on. We was only on for like 10 episodes. And they said, you guys are going to do the show again. And they gave us an extra hour, so we started doing 2 hours. And I decided, let's call it something. And, and it was some guy, literally, I'll tell a story for the rest of my life. There was this guy literally in the hallway of my building. And he listened to the show here and there. And he said, hey, you guys are funny. You guys keep it real. You guys keep it real. And I'm like, that's it. Keeping it real sports. And that's where it just grew from there. We started over time adding people. And then I decided, hey, let's make this into a brand. And I always listened to sports radio, but I never really listened to it until I actually started taking classes and experiencing it by doing college radio. And from college radio, I started doing college newspaper. They need a sports editor for the newspaper and a sports writer. So I said, hey, I know sports. I write, because from learning from my mom and watching that, and obviously watching sports my whole life and playing it, I jumped right into it. No real formal training. I was literally taking classes, figuring everything out. Stuff I remember reading in the newspaper from Frank Isola or any other sports beat writer I could have read. And I just said, this sounds like a good idea. This sounds like a career I could possibly do. And it just rolled from there. And I kept growing. And even when we had like summer break, I would literally take the summer and just watch TV differently, listen to the radio differently, read newspapers differently, just to see how things are done. And I became a fan of everything in a different way. As different from just being a consumer, I was understanding the business of it and understanding the production value of everything. I became the program director, ironically. I learned a lot about managing people and just having patience and showing people that you have the effort to put in and hoping, because you can't force things out of people. You can't say, do this or blah, 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 because we're not paying anybody. It's college radio. You're not paying anybody. You got to make it a fun environment. You also had to make it an environment that had to be respected. Because people will respect you if you show them respect as well as show what you're doing with some respect. The right people will, I should say. And I just followed that motto, and I was the program director for those 3 years. And I held it down, every day with it. I loved it. After a while, I just became engrossed with it because you're in the studio a lot of times, setting up for other people's shows, setting up for your own show. I would literally be in there till like maybe midnight until they have to kick me out the building because I'm writing stuff. I'm thinking of like stuff that we could do. It becomes fun. It becomes just something different than just a regular. I'm helping out the college community. It just becomes something that you really think about doing long term in the future. At that time, I graduated in 2009. Everybody was worried about the job situation. It was that's when everything kind of crashed in '09. So it was like, there's no jobs, especially in media. I was basically looked at like, you're an idiot if you try to really pursue a media career. That's all I heard. I'm talking about from professors. I had a professor tell me that there's really no future in this. And then you don't know if you're that good because, especially our school, not many people know about Old Westbury. So the radio station had just started. Newspaper was sometimes inactive. Television station was just starting. There wasn't really much of a resume you could put out there to say people whatever. So right out the gate, I went from thinking I'm never going to get a job. By June, I had 2 jobs. Just like that. Graduated in May, by June, 2 jobs. Balancing both of them. And one experience. That's like I said, it's everything kind of just built from there. I always stayed hungry, and like I said, all that I attribute from being from Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn kid. No matter what, you take all those titles away from me, any places I've worked, I'm just a Brooklyn kid. The way I move, the way I talk. Stuff in Brooklyn, you know how to hustle. I know so many guys that want to be rappers or musicians, and I used the way they hustle in kind of programmed it into what I did. Even though it was sports, it was broadcasting. It was stuff that's really corny if you talk about on a street level. But I tried to combine the two. So I was literally handing out little demo CDs of Keep It a Real Sports and sending people to links and stuff like that. And I had, when MySpace was big, before I knew how to make websites, I made a Keep It Real Sports MySpace using their MySpace music thing. So I was literally putting up tracks and clips from Keep It a Real Sports in the music thing as if they were songs and sending it to people. So like that's stuff I learned from Brooklyn. You see that all the time in Brooklyn. You see a bunch of artists that either struggling or trying to push their stuff. I learned that. I'm not a musician or anything like that. I just knew what I knew how to do, and I combined the two and just made it work. I wanted to keep growing it, and then more people started catching on. It became an urban thing, and then became more of a everybody thing. Because then more people from CBS want to be involved, or from other companies that want to be involved because they like what it was about. They want to do podcasts. I started working with HTML and developing more ways so that people can see themselves in a platform that they want to be a part of. Because you have so many people that are like producers or just writers, and they never got that break to be an on-air person. So I said, okay, this is an outlet. And this is an outlet that's going to be professional, and an outlet that's going to reach a lot of people that'll help bring your dreams to reality. We all still love sports. Not all of us are going to get jobs in it. It's a tough industry, So I said, why not make a platform? And this goes back to the whole Brooklyn mentality. And I made a comparison to myself, and I thought this was the coolest idea. I thought, you know what? Why don't we make this happen? And I'm assuming like I'm not going to get hired for a job. We make it hot enough to the point that they're going to be begging us. You know what I mean? They're going to be begging, knocking at our door saying, hey, we want these guys. I'm talking about the ESPNs, the CBS Sports, all of them. And I kind of took the page out of the whole Rockefeller book. Jay-Z, Dame Dash, how they got started. They couldn't get a record deal, so they started their own record company and put out Reasonable Doubt. And obviously Jay-Z got the whole deal with Def Jam from it. You understand what I mean? Like that's the mentality I had. It's a hood mentality, a Brooklyn mentality, but I figured that was going to work. I feel like we were that good, we were that hot enough. They just don't see us because when you see a resume, you just see names. You don't look for the actual what the person's about. I'm blessed to be working at CBS with 1010 Wins, CBS for over 6 years now. Working at Major League Baseball, you learn a lot. And I just want to bring that to people that don't get that chance.